Well, for more on those presidential inaugurations and Washington, D.C.'s economy, let's bring in Zhun Xu, Associate Professor of Economics at Howard University. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So for an international audience, or for those who are watching a U.S. inauguration for the first time, what does Inauguration Day and evening typically look like versus what's happening this year?
You can see a quite significant difference between what we see today and what we used to see 4 years ago, 8 years ago. It was normally a very packed city with visitors from all over the country, and we had one of the best times for small business people in the city as well. But not this year. This year is it's very quiet, pretty lonely, not that many visitors at all. So it's quite different.
So then how are these festivities typically funded, and what usually makes up the bulk of the spending?
It's, back in the day when we didn't have coronavirus, we didn't have the unrest in the capital city, the crowd was usually much larger. For example, for the ceremony alone, normally the tickets, the number of tickets would be like 200,000. So that many people would join the ceremony. But this year it was around 1,000 people in the ceremony. So there is a dramatic reduction in the number of people that actually got into the event. And the number of visitors visiting the city would also, the size was much smaller. As you said, in previous inaugurations, the average sales tax revenue from the inauguration alone would be around $3 million, and that would correspond to about 30 million spending in terms of business activities. And that would be a strong boost for many small business in this city. But with this dramatic reduction in the crowd, right. The expected revenue from this event would be much smaller too.
Now, separately, there's also Biden's inaugural fund. Where does the money come from for that, and where is it going this time?
We don't know exactly. Normally, inauguration was easily spend $100 million, even more than that, for all kinds of purposes. But this year, definitely, you don't have to spend that much money on the actual, on the seating, on all the accommodations. But you do still need to spend a large amount of money on, securities, on the security in the city, on online security measures. So I don't expect the actual expenses to be much different, although you don't see the side effect or positive side effect on the local economy.
And speaking of that, then, do you think these businesses will be able to survive the pandemic on top of the loss that they're already having from not being able to do anything for the inauguration?
That's a good question. Between November 2019 and November 2020, the city of D.C. has lost about 50,000 jobs, and most of those were in the private service providing sector. I mean, those were basically hotels, all kinds of sales, and I think they would be desperately looking for opportunities to increase their revenues, which will, relying on visitors, on tourists, and unfortunately, this inauguration has not been able to generate much needed revenue for them. But with the new administration, if we can quickly control the virus, we can quickly put forward this vaccination programs, and hopefully within this year we're going to see some healthy rebounds in the economy in DC and in the nation.
We certainly hope so. Thank you so much. Zhun Xu there, Associate Professor of Economics at Howard University.